Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. So, it is now 2023, which means we are going to talk about our most anticipated games of this year that are coming up.
So, Tom, what's your most anticipated game of 2023?
Well, it's not necessarily coming out in 2023, but my most anticipated game is Frostpunk 2.
Okay.
It is confirmed, just the release date is hoping it'll be this year. I really want it to be.
You want to tell the tables what Frostpunk 2, what Frostpunk is?
Well, who has played Frostpunk?
Me.
You played Frostpunk.
I played about a minute of it.
You played a minute of it.
I've
So
never heard
Frostpunk.
of it.
You've never heard of
I've
it?
never heard.
Okay.
Beautiful game.
It does come from a smaller studio, 11-bit Studios.
Okay.
Frostpunk is a survival city building game. So the actual gameplay loop revolves around building a city around a heat generator in a world where Britain has gone to shit and you have an apocalyptic winter coming.
So
Everyone has abandoned the country.
this year?
So, yeah.
This year, yeah. Kind of this year. So your whole gameplay loop is managing population, and there are sort of three layers to it, really. You've got to manage the actual building of the city and making sure that you've got enough stuff to do what you need to do all your resource management. You have to manage the people and the population in terms of their hope in society, I guess, and also their comfort levels. There's a discomfort as well. And then there's a third element of where you're exploring the world outside of where you've actually built your settlement. And you have to, find resources, you have to find out what's happened to the others. There's a lot to it. What I really liked about Frostpunk is the challenge.
Right.
So it's not an easy game by any stretch. Like, you play it for the first time, you just play it on like standard difficulties. It took me like 5-6 tries to actually complete the first level. There's only 4, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's really, really challenging. I did find the setting and the atmosphere was just incredible. So they use a lot of dramatic music to sort of like set the mood and make you really feel the pressure of, oh no, we're really in a survival situation. You really got to get stuff done. But then there's also like really like cool small UI elements to it as well. So like all of the windows just have like frost effects all over them, and they're all animated, and it's just a really small immersion piece that I thought was just a really good value add.
When you say like there's only 4 of them, everyone is that like a new settlement?
Yes,
So
everyone is a
okay.
new settlement.
All right, okay.
Without divulging too much into it, Lincoln.
I was going to say the base game is 4, then they give the DLC, which is an additional 2.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. There is a little bit of crossover between them.
Okay.
Without saying too much, there's something you can do in one of the missions. You get an achievement for it,
Okay.
depending on what you do, because it interacts with one of the other scenarios. Not directly, like it doesn't actually affect your gameplay in either run,
Yeah.
but it's just a little callback to one of the other
Okay,
missions.
that's cool.
Question for the table. What's the most difficult decision you've ever had to make in a video game? Lincoln.
No, I'd like to wait till last because it is a Frostpunk related
Okay.
one.
Liam.
So I'm just thinking, difficult decision. Maybe something as basic as like good or evil on Fable, honestly. Like those decisions, but even like playing games like Oblivion and that, like, do you just go and kill everyone? Or do you actually like try and play morally, like the moral high ground and stick with it? Like for me, I generally try and stick to the moral high ground when playing games like that. But every now and then I'm like, I can't be bothered, I'm going to stab you.
Yeah.
Like that's the only options. Like you're gonna get stabbed.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I'd have to say maybe at the end of Cyberpunk,
Okay.
when it was a thing of, do you let Keanu Reeves take over your body?
Yeah.
Or do you go, nah, this is my body, fam? I think that was one of the hardest decisions in a game for me, purely because I'm more of a racing car and like a racing genre person than games like that.
What were the stakes in that mission then?
Stakes in that mission, from what I remember, was, am I right in your character dies if you don't let Keanu Reeves take over your body.
You have a short window on life.
Yeah.
You get told that you're estimated to live from the AI. It says that you're estimated to live in your body for the next 6 months. But if Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, takes over your body, the body will live indefinitely because the chip has now wired your body to only respond to Silverhand.
Right.
So it is. You also obviously, because you've been playing as V for the whole game, you're connected in that way to him or her. And so yeah, that was the most difficult decision I'd say for me in a game. But what about you, Liam?
It was a difficult decision at the time, but once I had context for it, it's so easy to make the other decision now. But it's the actual is save the orphans or not in The Witcher 3.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because you save the orphans, and that was the decision I made initially because I was like, oh yeah, play a good guy in it, save the orphans, like release this horse to like save the orphans, and then it puts in like a chain of events in play where it ends up with one of the characters killing themselves, like hanging themselves from a tree. So every playthrough I've done since, I just let the orphans die. And probably the decision between Triss or Yennefer as well was a tough one for me.
Yeah, because you're not a Witcher expert in terms of the books or anything.
So I hadn't read the books or anything like that. So
you
I
went
was
straight
like,
in on Witcher 3.
so I was like, don't know. But you asked us, we haven't answered.
He's waiting
No,
for
I
last.
was going to answer last.
Oh.
I was going to relate it back to Frostpunk. Beth?
Okay, so I don't usually play games that require decisions like that. But I will say for me, the hardest decision I had to make was when I played Bioshock 2, and you have to pick whether to let the little sisters live or kill them.
Yeah.
Classic.
So I was like, oh no, they're children, but do I have to kill them? Like,
Yeah.
But I never killed them. I felt bad.
Because in Bioshock 2, isn't it? You have the choice of if you kill the little sisters, then you can get more upgrade points to upgrade your powers, making the game easier. But if you decide to make them live, then let them live, not make them. You have. If they survive, then you've made the game harder.
Yeah.
That was how it was supposed to run.
Yeah, I just felt really bad killing kids, as you should feel bad.
Yeah.
Even if they're like weird undead kids. So like
playing The Witcher apparently.
I didn't kill them.
Liam just
That's it. Just less.
Yeah, I don't usually play games like that, so when it came to that decision. Otherwise it was like stupid decisions, like at the end of like Saints Row 3, where you pick to save Shaundy.
Yeah.
But you can just replay the other ending anyway to see what happens, so it wasn't really like an effective ending. Like you can't do the other one, you've got to do the other one anyway, it didn't affect it. You just got a different ending, but you could go back and get the other ending as well. So
I've changed mine. Can I change mine really quickly?
Yeah.
There's one in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which to this date, actually, I still never know what to do in it, actually, is you go to this one island, and it's basically, you find this group of, like, people that are killing everyone on the island, and you're like, oh, I gotta stop them, and you find out why they're doing it. It's because there's an incurable plague on there that leads to death. And they're like, you can either save the people, and then the island dies later on because of the disease anyway, or you can just let these people do what they're doing, and the island doesn't die.
Oh, okay.
wow.
Needs the few versus needs the many.
Yeah. Because the first time I did it, because one of the side characters in it is from that island, and it's a character that you're quite close with. And if you let them live and you save them, you actually have to have a conversation with them later on in the game, being like, oh yeah, everyone on your island is dead. There's no one there anymore. Like, if you go back to the island, everything's grey and lifeless and stuff. I was like, oh, shit.
Before we segue on to Frostpunk, Beth, what you said reminded me about what are people's thoughts on like the storytelling decision-making games like Heavy Rain and things like that?
I've never played them. I've watched a playthrough of Heavy Rain now.
Okay.
Heavy Rain's a bit. I think Heavy Rain and just his games are a bit up there, like on us. I think.
Yeah.
Like the Telltale games though, like
Yeah.
the Walking Dead ones and the Batman ones they did were amazing.
Really?
Wolf Among Us is really good as well. I like those types of games. Like I replayed them through a few times just because I was like, oh, I want to see what.
Yeah, there's always like
Yeah.
20
Like
multiple
they have
endings, isn't there?
massive
and
they
things like
have
that.
massive replay value for me because they're so short and quick to get through as well. It makes repeat playthroughs enjoyable as well.
Yeah.
Whereas when like doing a repeat playthrough of like Red Dead or something like that, I'm like, it's too long. I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Fair enough, yeah.
Like,
I was gonna jump off you and be there, like, because I was wondering why you didn't speak of the morality system in Frostpunk yet.
oh, I'm going to.
Oh, 'cause so with Frostpunk, the other twist of it is there's a morality system to it.
Okay.
So you get put as the head chief of the entire area, and you're told, hey, you got to sign laws. You basically have to for most of them, because there's the laws and the morality one, and
Yeah.
laws is like you can be there like, oh, do children now get an education? If you do that, then you can the medicine tents more efficient
Or the
because
engineer has.
or the engineer ones because the children will go there to help out instead. Or do you want them to work in the mines to get more coal to heat the furnaces?
They yearn for the mine.
They yearn for the mines. So
Children,
that so like if you immediately sign the law for like children to work, then the morality goes down and everyone's like depressed about it. But you then also know that you can send all 45 workers immediately into getting coal, and now the furnace runs better, and you're there like, we're not going to freeze. The next bit with the laws of where it gets worse is eventually through the morality system, it then goes hope or order.
Faith or order.
Faith or order. You either go heavily religious or you go Nazi. Is the best way to go through it. And that was when
Oh no.
when it was gave you the warning being like the big freeze is coming, you have 10 days to prepare. That was the difficult choice for me because you have to you get to read what some of the laws and how extreme it goes, and it's the further and further you go, but it kind of makes the game easier sometimes.
Yeah.
But you then, if you take into consideration what it actually means, I went down the order route for my first playthrough.
Yeah.
And it essentially was there like, do you want to bring up propaganda like areas up? So then you're spending resources to build massive speakers, and you know what I'm like. I'm the type of person of where I hear like you'll be there like if you or you or you or you or you complain about your managers or your bosses or anything like that. They don't, for context. Past ones maybe. But if you complained about it, I'd be there like, how dare people of authority like abuse their position and stuff. And in Frostpunk, you just see me there being there, like, me there putting up these propaganda towers of where they're like, the order says get back to work. And they're like, we need to prepare for the big freeze. And it's like one woman holding a child going like, I don't want him to go back in the mines. Please let him stay. And I'm there like, the other 39 children, Karen, don't get the choice. She's going back in. Put little Sarah in. And then the hardest choice was when they were there like, okay, we now have people looting the area. Sir, do we do executions?
God.
And I was just there for a while going, looking at the timer of the big freeze going down, hitting pause and going, I am literally one step away from going full Nazi on this entire area. And I was just like, I want to get that playthrough completion because it's my third try. And I just immediately sign the order. And they're like, okay, we've grabbed the leader. We are executing 20 people today.
Oh my God.
And they were just there. And the execution isn't nice either. They put them into the massive steam thing and just turn it on. So all that steam ejects from the generator and burns them alive.
Nice.
So
I'm excited for the second game.
So I'm really excited for the second game. So the reason that I'm excited for it and why I think it's such a fantastic game in the first place is because every decision that you make makes you question, does the end justify the means?
Yeah.
And the thing is, Lincoln's talked about how far you can go, and it is absolutely savage. And if you go all the way with order, one of the really interesting things that it does as a game mechanic is eliminates hope.
Yeah.
So as you're going through, you have hope, and if the people's hope drops too much, they're going to try and kick you out unless you raise it. If the discomfort gets too high, they'll kick you out unless you can lower it. If you go too far in either faith or order, I've only ever done it in order, you enact a new world order. Hope is eliminated and is replaced with obedience, and you always have obedience. The minute that you choose that mechanic, Lincoln already said about executing 20 people when you go to this stage. The other thing that you're forced to do is build an execution platform. And basically what it does is it allows you infinite cruelty. Because once a day, you can send someone to just sit in the frost, in the ice, and they just freeze to death. And every time you do that, it lowers the discomfort by a significant amount.
So, before we move on,
I was going to say, for anyone who is interested on the game and you're there like, what happens if you go down full hope mode? You basically become the voice of God, and anyone that goes against you is going against God himself.
Yeah.
And if you're there like, okay, so if your order's like the sort of Nazi one, how do you keep people warm in the hope one? You tell them all to go to church and pray that God warms them up.
I'm gonna assume that this game has used a lot of these based on historical, like, extremist groups and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
not just one person being like, I wonder how messy
It was,
the game
I'm
is my
think
brain.
I will find out and I'll ask if Dom can put it in maybe as an extra. If I think it's a Polish developer.
Yeah.
And they basically do a lot of these types of games, and this one was just really good on how it explores morality. Because again, you don't have to go down this route. They never once make you go down this route. It's that easy to go into it, because when you're told a big freeze is coming and everyone's going to die, how many people will you execute to keep your entire village alive?
So can you just like keep it balanced, or is it very
You
hard
absolutely
to?
can. It's difficult. That's the thing.
It's,
So the game is
Right.
you
challenging
did
in
it,
general.
didn't you?
I did do it. So the most difficult challenge in the game is called survival mode,
Yeah.
which is harder than the hardest difficulty that they allow you to select on a slider, where you can't like reload at earlier games and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
To get the top achievements on it, you have to have 0 deaths except for one that's forced in the first mission, and you can complete it without going too far in order. So that's actually one of the things at the end of a playthrough, it actually goes through all the decisions that you made. And if you go too far in what they think is too far, it actually says, and then we went too far, you get a bad ending. They actually say that at the end. So you have to live with that at the end of the mission. Like,
For anyone that's interested on the soundtrack, because as Dom can agree, banging.
amazing.
The City Must Survive Extended is the song that plays when the big freeze hits.
Okay.
And it is so good because you hit speed up and all you're seeing is your death count skyrocket. And the violin bit in it nearly made me cry in terms of music. Great. So when they announced Frostpunk 2, me and Dom were like, because they showed where in that one it's coal. This one's oil. And the gameplay trailer was a guy frozen, like chained to the ground, and oil reservoirs blowing up around him.
Yeah.
So, hype.
One of the things I'm really excited about for the second one is they've said it's going to be set 30 years in the future. What that means to me is all of the little Timmies that I sent down in the mines and now the full-blown adults making the decisions for how it's going to continue. So what decisions are they going to make? Or what decisions am I going to make for them? Am I going to say, yeah, life gets better for your children? Or is it going to be, back in my day, things were much worse, so get back down in that mine? What's it going to be?
I want to play this now. It's probably interesting.
Yeah, I'm
So
kind of keen.
When does it release?
I don't know.
You don't know.
It isn't announced the actual date yet,
Okay.
but it is confirmed it's
It's a
coming.
TVC.
Right.
It is a TVC.
Oh.
TVC.
Frostpunk is on PlayStation, Xbox, Epic Games, and they're probably base game is probably 15 to 20 quid. The DLC is probably £10 more. Usually goes on sale for Xbox owners, Game Pass.
Oh, I got Game
Oh,
Pass.
and PC players, Game
Yeah.
Pass. So
Amazing.
All right, I've talked enough about Frostpunk now. Liam, what's your most anticipated game?
So I've got 2 at the moment. So is Assassin's Creed Mirage and Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Both for similar reasons, to be honest, because Spider-Man 2, I just want to see where they go with it, because that was a game that I replayed it about 4 times. And then they brought out Miles Morales, which is basically just a DLC, but they released it for £60 and I still bought it. And I bought the special edition of it that came with the remastered version of the first game. So I'm a bit of a Spider-Man shill, so I'm really looking forward to see what they do with that. Also, Venom's in it, so I'm an edgelord, so I love Venom. But no, I want to see what they can do with it with just using the PS5.
Yeah.
Because so like with the PS4 release, it was sort of held back, even Miles Morales, because that came out on PS5, but because they still had the PS4 version to cater to, it was sort of held back, mainly like swing speed. Like the swing speed in it, for some reason, just doesn't feel as fast as you would expect, especially after playing the original Spider-Man 2 on like PlayStation, Xbox, and GameCube. And like the swing in that is like hella quick.
Yeah.
But no, but seeing what they can do with like the faster loading times and everything like that, they said that swing speed is going to be like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm just really looking forward to that. Also, they're speculating there may be co-op in it. I don't think there will be.
How would that work, do you think?
Well, a lot of them are speculating there's just drop in, drop out co-op. So obviously there's two Spider-Men. So there's Peter Parker and Miles Morales. I don't think they go that route though.
Okay.
I think it's more of a single player experience, just with the option to switch who you're playing as. But either way, I'm gonna buy it. The decision's been made. I'm buying that one on release day. And then with Assassin's Creed Mirage, I'm actually I know a lot of people are excited for it because they're saying they're going back to what like Assassin's Creed used to be before they put in like they tried to make it like Witcher light. So they brought in all the RPG elements, armor pieces, everything like that, like weapon stats and everything like that. And everyone's excited for it because of that, because they didn't like those games. Now I played the living hell out of those games. I played the living hell out of all of Assassin's Creed. So again, I am an Assassin's Creed shill. But I'm just excited because I was getting to a bit of a burnout point with those versions of the games. Because the first one they did, Assassin's Creed Origins, in that type of style of game, so that's not the first Assassin's Creed game, but the first one in like the really RPG heavy style was really good. Odyssey was really good. Valhalla, I put 180 hours into it to actually finish the game. But it's the first one that I was like, I can't go back through and play that. That was a lot of work. So they're saying it's going to be a smaller experience. So I'm hoping, because they've said already, because the map in Valhalla is the whole of England, a bit of Norway, some of America, and then with the DLCs you get Paris. You get France with Paris in it, and you get Ireland. So
Wow.
this one they said it's just the city of Baghdad. So they said it's a lot smaller, but it's supposed to be dense and like packed and filled with like activities. Because that's another thing. Free running is a big thing in Assassin's Creed. It's one of the things that like got people like into it. And in Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, because the maps are so big and they're in not very dense places. Like you get like towns and villages where like you got some buildings, but most of it is countryside or deserts and everything like that. And you sort of lose the whole free running aspect of it. So I'm excited to see like that come back, because obviously with like a denser city, tall buildings, everything like that, you can really like get back into that sort of thing. Because I like being able to move around in games in interesting ways. That's why I like playing as like Spider-Man, or like I've been playing Dying Light 2 recently, so like first person free running, and that's what I'm excited for. But like that's another one where the decision was made as soon as they announced it that I was going to play it anyway. But the more I hear about it, I'm like massively excited to play it. But that's about it, really. That's all I got.
So I've got a question.
Okay.
You said that they're thinking of like they're going to make it like a smaller experience. Do you think they're only referring to the map, or do you think the actual story elements are
Oh
gonna
no,
be-
they've said basically it's a prequel. So one of the side characters in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Basim, he plays like a big role in it. I don't want to like spoil anything, even though it's an old game. Well, I say old game, it's about 2 years old at this point, but
Sure.
I don't want to like just in case anyone's going through it at the moment.
Mhm.
But he plays a big part in it. But basically, it's set a good few years before Valhalla, just talking about his story, how he became an assassin in Baghdad. Um, but I think they have said that it's generally going to be a smaller experience overall. Like I said, I think it was like Assassin's Creed Valhalla was, I think it's a good 80 hours to complete the campaign on its own.
Mhm.
But I went right doing everything on the map as well, so it took me a good 180 hours altogether.
Yeah.
So this one, they said it's going to, because I think it's even cheaper as well.
Oh, really?
So it's an actual, like, altogether smaller game. Yeah, well,
45.
45 quid, yeah.
Wow.
For a PS5 game as well, so it's an all-round smaller experience altogether.
Yeah.
So it seems like, yeah, it's going to be, but I'm okay with that. Like, again, it's one of those things where I think as I've started a full-time job as well, I've started to appreciate like shorter games. Because at the moment I get home from work and I'm like, I'm playing this game for 3 hours now and I make no progress.
Yeah, that's not how full balance it is, right?
So, if I may ask you then, because I can see right now Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out on PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X,
Yes.
S. Are you happy that it's on your other consoles as well?
For this one, it doesn't bother me too much. It's main because it doesn't seem like there's anything that particularly that would the PS4 would be holding it back.
And Spiderman's now in it.
What?
And Spiderman's now in it.
No, exactly.
Or Ben?
But no, it's because the developers came out on Spider-Man and said when asked, because it's not like the swing speed was slow. It's just it wasn't like fast. There's no like sense of like great speed in it. And they came out and like categorically said that it was because the PS4 wasn't quick enough.
Question.
Okay.
So, in terms of your
Yes.
sense of speed,
Yeah.
I want to ask a question that's going to relate slightly to racing games. So, one of the ways that racing games make you feel a sense of speed isn't by the car physically moving fast through the world, but it's an extra effect. It's like lines whizzing past you and stuff. Do they do that in Spider-Man PS4?
Yeah, they got some of that. Yeah, it's when you're diving, like to go into a swing,
Yeah.
you get that.
Cool.
But when you're actually swinging, there's not much of that. No, there's like wind sounds and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
also, I think the main issue as well is something that I do as well. I turn blur off on all my. I turn motion blur off on all my games.
I do as well. I don't like it as an effect, but I do imagine that would detract from a sense of speed a little bit.
Yeah, like what was I playing recently? Actually, it might be that as well because I've been playing Sonic Frontiers as well lately, and I played it with motion blur off, and I turned motion blur on, and I was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm going so much quicker right now.
Really?
But no, that's all I got.
Cool. Lincoln, why don't you tell us about your most anticipated game? What you got?
I'm a real heavy fan of survival games, so I play things like The Long Dark, Green Hell. Frostpunk is technically a survival game as well, and Ark Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
So there's a game called The Forest, and the developers is a small team. They're creating now what's called Sons of the Forest. If you want an idea what the forest is like, is you're a survival expert, you're going on holiday with your kid, all of a sudden your plane crashes. There's no reason that given why at the time. Your plane crashes. You are the only survivor of the plane crash alongside your son, and when you wake up, you see a guy covered in red carrying your son onto his shoulder and walking off into the forest. And that's the whole premise of the game. What?
I've just seen some stills from the game that you're talking about, and one involves a creature that I don't know how to describe to you.
Oh, okay.
And-
I'll see if I can get footage of
And
this as
the
well.
other one is your character holding up the decapitated head
Oh,
of
yeah.
someone
Yes,
to ward
so
off cannibals.
basically what happens is the enemies they take a while. You'll start off in day, and you come out and you've got a emergency app to like cut like seatbelts and stuff, and you can use that to basically cut the trees, cut bushes and stuff to make fortifications, or you have to build like your sleeping mattress in order to go to sleep. You have to build a fire as well because you have to keep track of water and food. So and I think sleep as well. Um, Once you start doing that, some people will recommend that you stay around like the crash site. So what the developers did to make that interesting is there's cannibals in the area, and they'll come out and try to kill you. So you have to fight off the cannibals, and they have different patrol routes. The crash sites usually are on their patrol routes because obviously for the cannibals they'd be like, "What's that massive sound that happened over there?" and they'll rush towards it. Um, the whole point of the game then is for you to try and find traces of your son and why this island, because you find other traces of other people going to the island and they go missing. Where Liam's talking about the decapitated head of like the enemy, you can like chop off their head and use that as a way to deter the other cannibals away from you. The abominations he's talking about are the mutants. After so long of playing, the mutants will start to appear. You have different because there's not that many enemy categories. Because you got cannibals and then you get bigger cannibals. The scary thing is when it goes to nighttime. Nighttime will have you'll basically be you'll only have the light source of a torch or your campfire, and everything else is pitch black.
Okay.
And because it's all forest and bushes and trees, you'll hear like the trees moving. That can be any of the wildlife, such as rabbits, lizards, deers, I think is one of them as well. Or it can be the cannibals. And the cannibals are the scariest because you have to imagine like laughing, but like hyena laughing in the pitch black.
Mm-mm.
And you can't see them until they enter the light. So, and they also are very clever with the AI because I'm not going to say the AI is like groundbreaking, but it's the equivalent of if you look in the general direction of the cannibal and it's in this darkness, it'll stop moving and it will just stare you out.
So for me to get like a general idea then of what that kind of is like, is it kind of like Dying Light 1's nighttime or more intense than that, would you say?
I'd say more intense, but the thing is with the game is there's no music until you find the Walkman. You can then turn on the music, but you have no headphones, so the music attracts enemies. So
That's good.
yeah, so you then get to explore cave systems. That's when it gets even worse because everything's isolated. It's very cramped. But that's the only way that you can find any of the extra resources, such as if you go into one area, you can find a long katana, and you find the like businessmen that came from the crash site because there were other survivors, but you'll like track them down and find out what happened to their different fates, and you'll find out that they were pre-settlers that came that tried to settle the area, and obviously stuff went wrong. So you got all that to go through. The reason why I'm excited for Sons of the Forest is it's that game, but everything is cranked up. Everything is updated. So what I didn't mention is like the building fortifications. You can build houses, walls, and traps. Sons of the Forest has done more of that. They've added more traps that you can make, added more guns and different styles of weapons. The way that you chop down the trees and carry them now, they used to be like you chop down the trees and you carry like the individual planks come over. Then anyone that's played something like Grounded or Ark Survival Evolved will know that the building mechanic of you put like a sort of blue template up and you walk up with the resources and put it in. This time it looks like you have to cut the wood and physically place every individual plank in because there's animations for it. The bit that makes it more interesting is for Sons of the Forest. So the second one, it looks like you play as the son of the character in the first game, and the weather changes. So there's snow now. You have to worry about thermal, and some of the most interesting facts because where he's talking about the abominations. Sons of the Forest 2 shows in the one trailer that got everyone shook was it showed a woman in the snow that was walking alongside you. And then all of a sudden, she turns around and she has the additional two legs showing that she's a mutant, but she hangs around your base. So there's wonders if she's like a companion of sorts that you can follow around. You can also have the golden mask that you can put on, and it allows you to control the cannibals. They had stuff like that in the forest where you put red paint on yourself. Overall, the forest scored 8 out of 10 on most reviews, and the game for me was honestly incredible.
So, just to end it then, when does the game release?
To be confirmed. It's supposed to be coming out this year. I think they said speculation first or second quarter.
Cool.
That game sounds like a no for me. Too spooky.
Oh, that's why I want it. It is definitely scary at some points. I think one of the scariest moments for me was hearing a laugh behind me, turning around, seeing nothing there, hearing another laugh behind me, turning around, and where the campfire was, there was a tree stump next to it, and one of the cannibals was like, slab squatting, so just on top of the trunk, looking directly at my character, but didn't do anything for as long as I was staring at it. And all you could still hear was laughing in the background. So I knew there was more cannibals.
That's quite scary.
And then all I heard, and it was the first time I encountered one of the mutants, was just the noise of one of the mutants going "Roar" in the background. And I was like, the hell was that?
Was that mutant seal?
Basically. But it has like a bunch of different arms covering over its face.
Okay.
So that's why the noise is like very hard to recognize.
That's the thing I think I saw on there. Is like his whole upper body is just a mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one. There's a woman that shoots. The best way I can describe it is it shoots its kids at you, and that one's really fast and can jump really high. So when you build your fortifications, you have to build the walls like 5 tiers up. Also, the cannibals can climb trees. So when you build your walls around it, they're smart enough to climb the trees and then jump off the trees into your campsite.
That's quite cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of defense structure to it.
Cool.
Awesome. So, that's it for this week, yeah?
That's it.
Brilliant. And we'll return next week with the
Part
other
2.
people's anticipation game.
Yeah.
Part 2.
But
We'll
until
get games
then,
from Beth recently and next week.
Geek Retreat
Until-
Podcast Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. Let's go.
yeah. See you.
Bye.
Bye.